I am your host. Welcome back to the Neuro Dive Corner, your place for all things neurodivergent and the amazing individuals that take care of them. Uh, so, I had made a commitment. Um, some of you are aware that I've been going through a process. As you guys know, I am one of you guys, and I do have a neurodivergent brain. And I literally had to take some time and kind of like get myself in order and allow myself some space to practice some self care, some much needed self care, and recalibrate and kind of like started thinking about priorities and things like that. So just know that I did not forget about you guys. Did not forget about the channel. I was just going through a little bit of a period, and you know, pretty much doing what I needed to do to take care of myself and show up as a better version of myself to those that I love the most. So, yeah, so we're here. And today, I want to give everybody some time so they can kind of like join the live little by little, and you know, people start coming in. Obviously, do all the good stuff, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we're dropping videos. Also, check out the other side of the channel, the shorts, which are a little bit more social commentary, and a little bit of everything on that side of the channel, actually. So there's some social commentary, there's some satire, there's a little bit of everything. So go check it out. This is a small community, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I love our little channel. I love coming in here and being able to not only share lived experience, but also educate, being both a professional that pretty much most of my career has been dedicated to dealing with the neurodivergent population. And on top of that, being neurodivergent myself, we go through some stuff. And I wanted to talk about grief today. Not the type of grief that comes from losing a loved one, which is usually how people talk about grief when they touch on this topic, right? You know, whenever somebody mentions grief, the first thing that comes to your mind is death. You know, the death of a friend, death of a loved one, that type of thing. But there is a particular type of grief that is quieter and a little bit more, it seems like it's innocent, and it creeps on you. Hi, yep, let me drop it to the chat and say my hellos to our leaderboard. So we have Karina Urni. Hopefully I pronounce it right, because I usually butcher names. So I am so very sorry if I did. But hi, hello. Thank you for joining the live. Thank you for joining the channel. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so we can reach out to more people. So getting back to the topic of grief, right? There's a type of grief that people sometimes do not explain. Oh my God, I love you guys too. Thank you. Definitely, it love that I'm interacting with somebody, because usually it just feels like I'm screaming into the void. But So there's a type of grief that comes when things in your life change, and they come with a diagnosis, and it's a type of grief that people stay away from. Nobody really talks to you about. Nobody really likes to touch that type of stuff, but it's very real. And what inspired me to talk about that type of grief today was, hi, Goofy Shorts. Hi. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for joining the live. Do all the good things. Share, like, subscribe, all of that. So I was watching the documentary of Celine Dion, and how she has been navigating her stiff person syndrome. And it triggered something in me. I remember when hello everybody. Thank you for joining. So yeah, when I first got my diagnosis and started, I always knew I was neurodivergent, but it took years to actually come to the onset, the really heavy onset, and come to my diagnosis. On top of that, I have witnessed very closely in my work and in my life people receive chronic illness diagnosis. And that's what happened to Celine, right? And this woman is out there, no filter, completely vulnerable, sharing how this illness is literally taking away everything that she is. You know, her agency, her control over her body, her identity, point blank. She, thank you, Karina. Yes, thank you for joining. I appreciate you guys so much. So when I started watching the movie, like I said, it kind of triggered something because I've been experiencing that type of grief. I grieving my aging parents and their health, um, witnessing how they lose some of their abilities, some of their wit, some of their identity, if you will. And it's pretty devastating. And I suffer debilitating anxiety and debilitating panic attacks. So I'm the type of person that my brain, my ADHD brain, and the anxiety collide, and they are a horrible combination because you hyper focus when you are ADHD in certain topics. You perseverate and you ruminate, and your mind is just firing in all cylinders. And that gets your anxiety. And you have two forces. You have anxiety that paralyzes you when everything in your body is telling you to run, or that something really bad is going to happen. So I go through every scenario possible. Oh, you speak Spanish? Yo soy puertorriqueña, nacida y criada. But yeah, so when I first got my diagnosis, it was a revelation because it answered so many questions and it validated a lot of the things I was experiencing. But it was it was devastating too, because now you are questioning yourself, questioning your confidence, questioning your ability. So there is a grieving process that comes with that, and people don't talk about it. And I feel that is a disservice to, especially to neurodivergent people, because we feel things sometimes a lot more intensely, and we struggle with building capacity and things like that. So when you're hit with things like that, there is a true loss that is feels like you lost a loved one, because you're literally seeing yourself diminished in a way, maybe seeing yourself in a light that you are not used to, and now you have to relearn who you are, what pace is good for you, where your boundaries are. And that can be extremely, extremely difficult for somebody that doesn't have a neurodivergent brain. But when you, on top of that, have a neurodivergent brain, then everything amplifies. And that sense of loss feels like a very real threat. And for some people, it becomes crippling. And it's sad because a lot of the times when you're neurodivergent, people cannot see the pain. What we're suffering is usually not visible. There are not physical manifestations of the storm that is brewing inside you, and or the pain, or the doubt, the guilt, the shame, all of those things, the fear, the insecurity, the sense of, am I ever gonna be myself again? Or who am I right now? In seeing Celine Dion so open and so vulnerable, and seeing her working in real time through that grief, honestly, it touched something in me, because so many people with chronic illnesses are grieving and don't have anybody that can recognize that that is what's happening and can provide some support and some guidance. I've seen this a lot in parents that have children with a neurodivergent diagnosis. Like when you have a child with a diagnosis of like angel man syndrome, or autism spectrum, or pretty much anything, even if it's clinical depression, things like that, there is a grief that comes with that that nobody really helps you navigate. People forget that having a chronic illness, is, it doesn't look the same for everybody. It doesn't hit everybody the same. And for so many people, it becomes a death sentence even when it's not. Because again, to be aware of losing your abilities, it takes an incredible amount of stress and strength from a person. Like if you have somebody, oh hi, Reiji Ramasati, thank you for joining the live. So yeah, I've seen this play out in my own life. Like I said, my parents, they're aging. My mom has fibromyalgia and other autoimmune disorders, but she is my hero. She is the type of person that will not let a diagnosis dictate who she's going to be and how she's going to live her life. My dad, it's kind of like me. My dad is kind of like a realist, and right now, again, to see them start aging, to see that mentally, they're not as sharp as they used to be, it's difficult to see them, because again, you can see the grief, you can see the anger, You can see the denial some days. You can see the sort of like resignation type of I'm just done type of attitude. And I feel that in patients like that have neurodivergence, nobody really takes the time to sit down and say, hey, it's okay. As long as you're making progress, baby steps. Yes, this is not the same you anymore. You have to relearn. You have to, it's almost like riding a bike. You never really forget how to do it, but you can get pretty rusty. And when you have a diagnosis that causes you and takes away even your personality sometimes, your ability to show up for others, there is a death that happens. You are losing the person that you've always known, the coping skills that used to work, um, all of that. And you do it alone, and it almost feels like you're not entitled to be grieving because we have limited grief to physical death, right? To the loss of a person. But nobody talks to you about grieving yourself, grieving the person you used to be, the person you would like to be, and now you can't because you have certain limitations. Um, or if you have a diagnosis like dementia, like frontotemporal dementia or Alzheimer's, any of those that literally start stealing what makes you you, your memories, your independence, your ability to care for yourself. And again, it's sad that we don't talk more about this. We don't normalize that it is okay to grieve a diagnosis. It is okay to grieve what that illness is doing to you or to your loved one. It is normal. It is part of the process, especially when you see it in your child. I, not only are you trying to come to terms as a parent with a diagnosis and everything that comes with it, but you're grieving all of the dreams and all of the ambitions and all of the things that you probably built around having a child and the way you visualized life. I know for me recently, even though I always kind of knew that I couldn't conceive and I couldn't have children, when I finally got the confirmation, it still hit in a certain way. It was like, wow, so I really can't have that in my life. I will never experience what being a mother is, and how that changes you. And there's a grief that comes with that. Um, so for a lot of the parents that have a child that is neurodivergent, nobody takes the time to support them in their grief so they can then focus better in navigating the diagnosis, navigating their needs, their child's needs, and how life is going to look. Same thing happens to the elderly patient or somebody like me that has a very high risk of developing some sort of dementia because it's very pervasive in my family. There's a level of fear that comes with that, and it would be great if people would have the tools and if we would start having the conversations and normalizing that, hey, there are days where you're going to be angry at everything, at God, at your higher power, whatever that looks like for you, at life. There are days that you're gonna be just in denial and thinking, hey, this is not who I am. I refuse to accept this and I'm just gonna shut it out. There are gonna be days where you're gonna be having that negotiating process, trying to come to terms with it. And all of that is normal. So I think I'm gonna start wrapping up. Like I said, I just wanted to come by and share with you guys that a lot of the times when you're a little different, and don't let anybody minimize your experience. You are the expert on yourself. People can give you perspective. Trust me, I've gotten a lot of that in the last 2 months, and it helps. But you're the expert in you. So if you are one of those people that is grieving a diagnosis, a chronic illness, if you're grieving the loss of yourself or seeing a loved one losing themselves into one of these illnesses that don't have physical manifestations, know that some of us see you, we love you, we're here for you, and it is okay to grieve the life that could have been, the person that could have been. It just makes you human. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to the top leaders today: Karina, Reiji, Goofy, Shorts. Thank you so much, you guys, for interacting. That is amazing. If you have any suggestions for any other topics, please drop them in the comment. Go check the shorts in the other side of the channel as well and leave your comments. And I'm gonna try and do a live, because right now I'm finding myself again and I gotta practice self-care. So I'm gonna try and shoot for once a week. And I will announce it so that people can join and enjoy it and interact. But as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, lift each other up, build community. That's the only way we get through this. I love you guys, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.